and then I got released on CARES.
Look, I just started, but don't
Oh,
worry.
okay. All right.
Don't worry. We have an excellent editor.
edit it.
Don't we, Dawn?
That's amazing how you do that. Okay,
Yeah,
that sounds great.
I'm actually going to introduce you in terms of your name, so
you don't have to go there.
Yeah, you just need to just start.
Okay.
Okay, let's do this.
And we're going to mute ourselves so we don't end up in your recording.
I think Megan froze on us.
No, I didn't froze.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
I feel like you have a story to tell, and I'm just giving you the space to tell it your own way.
Okay. Should I just start? Okay. Well, many years ago, I had an investment firm, and during the 2008 financial crisis, a lot of bad stuff happened. And after everything kind of imploded, we made it through that. But I rejected 3 separate plea offers from the federal government. And I decided to defend our firm, my employees, and myself in federal trial. And through a crazy, bizarre narrative, I was convicted and sentenced to eventually 14 years in prison. And throughout that whole ordeal, I was sent up to a higher security facility, and then I had to put a lot of motions in court, and I eventually made it down to a camp after about 5 years at a higher security facility. And once I got down to the camp, I was able to reverse my case twice from the Fourth Circuit. 2 U.S. District Court judges were removed. It's a crazy, bizarre story throughout. But I was incredibly fortunate to be counted in the CARES Act, and I had done more than 50% of my time. So after about roughly 7 years, I was sent home to home confinement. And it was a miracle. And I'm sorry if I get emotional when I'm talking about it. But I made it home to my family and my wife and my son, and we started rebuilding the world. And I had a great job. A lot of my old friends and business associates came out of the woodwork and hired me to do a whole bunch of different things. And so I started working 20 hours a day, taking care of the family. I was able to hire my son, reconnect with him. I got my elderly mother straight with all the long-term care and with us. She's living with us now. I was able to pay all my taxes and pay all my back taxes and even pay my family's back taxes, and all these kind of crazy things that when you're away for 7 years, everything implodes when you're gone. So I've just been every day trying to get out of bed and make as much forward progress as I can, because we went from here on the scale to, 0.00. But the most incredible thing that happened while I was home is my incredible wife became pregnant. And it was in this unbelievable surprise that we had this little baby, Carly, on the way. So I would get up every day and just work and try to do all these things. And I was paying restitution, even though you don't have to pay restitution on home confinement, but I thought it was the right thing, and all these type of things, and rebuild for my shareholders, rebuild for my family, rebuild for me. And I guess they estimated I accepted 1,200 check-in calls during that whole time period, and submitted all my documentation and work. And my friends hired me for these nice jobs that took care of all of us. And then one night on May 31st, our landline had run through our internet, the Cox cable here in Norfolk, Virginia. That's how it works here. You have to do it that way. And I guess the internet was down and I missed a call. And once I missed this call, this cacophony of noise and this unbelievable number of gaffes over and over happened. I had always used a landline, so I didn't notice on my cell phone. And at about 1:43 in the morning, I noticed, actually my wife Ashley had noticed that I missed many calls. And so we called the halfway house and in a crazy panic. And then we ran and restarted the internet and rebooted that. It took about 15 minutes to get that. So I called them on my cell phone, then we called them on my landline, and then I emailed everybody. And everybody was great that, sorry for the mishap. And the next morning they asked me to come into the halfway house. And I had this amazing halfway house in Newport News, super people, really unbelievable, like trying to help me and always taking great care of me. And they said, I know, you've always followed the rules. Everything's been 100% perfect. We're going to give you an informal notice. And, but if it happens again, we're going to bring you back to the halfway house for 25 days. And I said, that's fair. That's fair. And so I was walking out the door of the halfway house when the BOP called and said, no, don't let them stay. They asked me to stay and said, hey, they're going to call you back in an hour. I'm sure everything's fine and we're going to be great. Then they came back in and say, we're going to need you to spend the night. And of course, my blood pressure is skyrocketing from that point. After all we've all been through. Then the next morning, the marshals showed up with the handcuffs and shackles and took me back to jail. And that started this crazy new narrative of that I had submitted to the halfway house that, hey, I was in my bed the whole night. And what had happened was, like I said, with the landline, but also they tried to ping my ankle monitor a couple times and it didn't ping, it didn't vibrate. And the next morning back at the halfway house, they said, they first of all showed that I hadn't ever taken off my ankle monitor. Secondly, they confirmed that the ping buzzing function was not working, but the GPS was working. So they had continually throughout the night were 100% confident that I was in my bed sleeping throughout the evening. And finally, what had happened is they had sent a wellness check where the Norfolk police came to my house to put eyes on me and make sure I was there. And again, this just ridiculous events. They never rang the doorbell. We were able to access the police body cams and the videos that said, hey, this is a halfway house. Everybody's asleep, even though my house is all lit up and everything, because they looked in the door, they didn't see anybody. So they decided not to ring the doorbell. So there was like 10 different times that this could have all been fixed. And it's just a very unfortunate event. And we even got a statement from the police officer saying, yeah, I thought it was a halfway house. I never rang the doorbell. I never really checked. And so the next day, I was taken to jail here in Norfolk. And fortunately for me, I've been so incredibly lucky throughout this whole adventure that the company I was working for was so just amazed that for missing a phone call, I was taken back to prison. So they rallied and they hired some attorneys, and the attorneys were working with my wife, and all my friends came together and they're gathering all this information. And what it always reminds me is that, I'm incredibly lucky that I had those people, because, most people don't. And so I go to the jail And I think, well, this has got to be, fixed quickly because I haven't escaped. But I find out I've been charged with escape. But, your home is your place of confinement. I was in my home the whole time, but you're right. I did miss a phone call. So then I thought it would be fixed. It's not. It spirals out of control. I'm then moved to Richmond, Virginia, and you're in lockdown all 24/7, all those times. And then I understand that the DHO has now had a hearing about my situation, which I wasn't able to present any evidence or present any witnesses per all the regulations and the statutes and everything. But the DHO said, hey, yeah, it's obvious this guy was there, but he didn't answer a phone call. So we're going to give him 41 days of lost good time. And we're going to put him back in the halfway house for 41 days and send him home to home confinement, which of course, at that time, I'm in insane panic. And that sounded great. I'll take it. I don't think it's right, but I'll make it back. Well, then the BOP overturned their own DHO. I'm not sure how all that happens logistically or administratively. And they decided, no, I'm going to go back to prison for the next 4 years to serve out my time. And they're going to send me back to FCI Beckley, which is a medium facility, back up the chain again, because I had theoretically escaped. Then I was sent to Oklahoma, into the jail facilities there. And actually, while I was in Oklahoma, 2 different times I was shackled up and chained up and taken like I was going to leave. I'm thinking I'm going home, but unfortunately, I was actually going to an FCI. And 2 different times I get on the plane, right, getting on the plane with the marshals, and then they go, oh no, Martinovich, you're not going today. And they send me back. And so these are all like 20-hour adventures. Then I was transferred to Mississippi. And so I've just been going through all of these things for weeks and weeks. And we're about the 2-week point. And then I found out that because of everything that was submitted and the incredible amount of evidence, that the BOP fortunately expunged my allegation or conviction, whatever you call that, of escape. And then they gave me a pair of jeans and a t-shirt and drove me to the Jackson, Mississippi International Airport and left me at the front door. And I said, is somebody going with me? I don't know, like, how are we doing this? So no, they're like, hey, you just fly back to Norfolk and tomorrow call your halfway house. And I thought, wow, for somebody who's so crazy, violent, or a menace to society, to be on escape, to just be dropped off at the airport. But it was just the most bizarre experience. And then I connected back that night about 1 a.m. with the Ghent halfway house here. And I have to say, they have also been unbelievably kind and efficient and taking care of me and trying to help me. And they are the nicest people on planet Earth. So now I've come back roughly 2 months ago, and by a miracle, all my corporate friends and everything have rehired me. And I made it back 5 weeks before our baby Carly was born. It's so unbelievable. And they let me go to the birth. And so it's kind of crazy at our house right now. She's amazing. My wife is amazing. I should be helping a lot more than what I'm doing. But I'm working, like crazy day and night, trying to rebuild the world. We have Carly. We're filing again for compassionate release, maybe hopefully that path. I would love to file for the clemency. Unfortunately, I don't think I qualify for the clemency because of my timing and my type of crime. I'm a financial crime. And so it's something that, I've lived a very fortunate life. I went to the United States Air Force Academy and I fought in the first Gulf War. And, I was able to build $1 billion investment firm. I mean, my life has been so blessed. So I kind of think of this last decade as maybe, this was the challenge I was supposed to go through. And I could have accepted a plea offer and, it would have just been a very short thing. And unfortunately, or maybe not, I didn't go that route. But when I came home, I thought, wow, this is over. Now I can get back to doing all these positive things. And I was president of Big Brothers Big Sisters. I was on the board of the USO. I was the chairman of the Children's Village of Hampton Roads. And, all those positive things I could do in the community. And, right now I'm in this limbo that my employers want to give me all these more responsibilities and allow me to make a lot more money. I could pay off my restitution in a very short time period because of all these, it's a kind of a cat and mouse, chicken and egg kind of thing. So we're in this limbo. I don't understand it. Everything about this whole thing from day one, it just doesn't make sense. The whole thing has been designed not for the objectives that somebody like me thought the whole system was about. All of my friends who went to the trial, all of my friends who have come to visit me in prison are just in shock about what's really going on in the world versus what we kind of read in the newspapers or watch on Netflix and we think is the deal. So I'm incredibly lucky. I'm incredibly fortunate that I've made it out the other side. And that's a miracle in and of itself. And for the prospect to be sucked back into that tunnel and to go back, I mean, my wife and my son, and fortunately, my little Carly doesn't know, I mean, they're in terror every day. My mother, she's living here. She's like, is he going to go again? All those kind of things. It's the strangest modus operandi. It's a really weird way to go through your life. But again, so many people are still in there. So I'm incredibly fortunate to be here. What I know is if we could resolve this in one simple way, one logical way, so much good could be done. So much economic good, so much social good. All these type of things. So I'm not sure why that hasn't happened yet. But thank you for the opportunity for me to be here today. But what I did want to say to all the other like me that are out here, we just got to get up every day and get stronger every day and be productive and try to be as positive as possible for us and our families. So we got to get stronger physically, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. And I truly believe this is all going to work out okay. There is no way you can tell me that we're all going back to prison. It just makes zero sense. And again, I have lost a lot of faith in a lot of things that I believed in prior to this whole event. But you can't tell me that this is not going to work out right. So I want to tell all my friends out there that are in the same exact situation as I am, is just keep getting out of bed. Don't let paralysis by analysis, don't let this whole fear overtake our lives right now. Get out there, get that job, marry that girl, have that baby, whatever that would be, because it's going to work out. And that's just kind of my final message. I thank you so much for giving me a little platform to tell my simple story. And I'm just very grateful to be here.